Alright, listen up, brave soul. Before the demons start screaming and the slayer starts slicing, do me a favor. Smash that subscribe button like it owes you coin, and ring that bell harder than Finn's axe on Demon Skull. We don't know when hell's coming back, but when it does, you'll want front row seats. Trust me. They say nothing good ever happens at midnight in Stonehaven. Me? I've always thought that was nonsense. Until last night. A chill swept through the village. My sheep nervously baaed like they knew something bad was coming. But I just shrugged. Typical weather, right? Then, the earth trembled. My knees trembled too, but that's another story. I peek out my window. There, a horde of actual demons. Sharp horns, glowing eyes, and that putrid smell. Like burnt turnips soaked in old manure. They came charging, screaming arcane curses. I dropped my mug of ale, it shattered. Not my best brew, but hey, priorities. I ducked behind the door. Did I mention my family's heirloom vase? Don't worry, I left it behind. Priorities again. Suddenly an arrow zinged through a demon's skull and clang, it fell flat. Then another and another. I crawl outside to peek, risking becoming demon chow, and there he was. Cloaked head to toe, broad shoulders, that iconic helmet reflecting moonlight. Slayer. And he's got that big ass sword on his back. I've heard tales, part stubborn warrior, part unstoppable doombringer to demons. And here he was, in my village. He swung that sword like he was swatting flies. 1 second, a demon slicing my neighbor's fence. Next, thwack, his head's rolling. Neighbor Jack shrieks, "Bet your blade's dull if it doesn't go clean through a skull." Slayer looks up, sees me. I can almost swear he smirked. Thanks?
Move back.
Right. Back. Farther, I scampered to the churchyard, heart pounding, juggling fear and awe. I watch as Slayer charges next, into the fray. Demons scream, armor shatters, blood, goes everywhere. But he fights on. I stayed there behind the fence till dawn peeked over the rooftops. The village was still standing, barely, and the Slayer, gone. No goodbyes, just scorch marks, demon guts, and my ale mug, somehow still upright in the dirt. Never did find that heirloom vase, though. Dawn cracked over Stonehaven like an egg on a hot skillet. Smoke curled from burnt rooftops. The air still stank of brimstone, and I swear I heard a goat weeping. Don't ask. Me, I'm standing in my slippers, robe flapping in the breeze, just surveying the mess. My sheep are alive. That's a miracle. My neighbor Jack, not so much. He's fine physically, but emotionally, man's been hugging a fence post for an hour.
I saw my fence get possessed. Said my name in Latin. I ain't even Catholic.
I try to help him up, pat his back. He flinches like I'm a banshee.
Don't touch me. I've been spiritually violated.
Honestly, I can't blame him. Demons tried to boil his livestock. That changes a man. Then the mayor rolls in, Sir Orvin, riding a donkey like it's a war steed. He's got his ceremonial hat on crooked and a sword still in its scabbard.
Villagers, we have survived the hellish onslaught. Let it be known Stonehaven stands proud.
Someone coughs. Someone else throws a turnip.
Mostly proud.
He trots his donkey right up to me.
You there, Farmer Bren. You saw the Slayer, didn't you?
I nod, still half in shock, honestly. He saved us, cut down demons like weeds, didn't even say goodbye.
That is his way, a lone sentinel, a doom upon the damned.
I blink at him.
Right. Well, he also deaded my chicken coop.
Honor in every scratch, my good man.
Can't argue with that logic, even if my coop now looks like it got headbutted by a drunk minotaur. The rest of the day? Weird. Half the town's rebuilding, half's praying, and the rest? Well, they just keep sweeping demon bits into barrels. One guy tried to pickle a demon toe, said it might be good luck. Jack's still talking to his fess. But me? I've got this feeling. Not fear, something else. Like maybe the world's shifting, and we're just catching up. I stare out toward the forest edge, where the Slayer vanished. Birds are chirping again. The breeze smells like pine and maybe ash. Whatever comes next, I reckon Stonehaven will be ready. Well, except Jack. By mid-morning, Stonehaven looked like a tavern after a brawl. Roofs half missing, soot-covered walls, and an odd number of goat bones in the well. Still not sure how that happened. I was patching up the chicken coop. Well, what was left of it, when young Elric from the apothecary came sprinting down the lane, robe flapping, eyes wide as dinner plates.
Farmer Bren, there's movement in the crypts, the old ones.
I dropped my hammer. Not because I'm scared, though I am, but because that hammer's cursed. Been cursed ever since it fell in the stew pot during that full moon festival. Anyway.
The crypts? The ones behind the chapel? I thought those were sealed.
They were, but the seal's cracked. There's heat, and gods help me, the air smells like roasted rats and sin.
That's never good. So we gather a few brave souls. Well, brave might be generous. There's me, Elric, who's already regretting everything, old Mags with her walking stick of doom, and Finn the blacksmith, who only agreed to come if he could bring his experimental flame axe.
She's not field-tested, but she hums when you swing her. That's a good omen, right?
She hums. You mean like a demon trapped inside?
Well, if it is, it's a helpful one.
This is what we got to work with, folks. We make our way to the crypts. The chapel looms above us, old stones whispering of ancient burials and forgotten curses. The door, normally sealed by the priest's runes, now lies open, scorched and cracked. Something burned its way out. Inside, it's cooler, but only just. The stone glows faint red. Elric pulls out a charm, muttering something in broken Latin.
Spiritus Sanctus. Please don't let me soil my robes.
We descend, step by step, into the bowels of the crypt. I'm not religious, but I mutter a little prayer myself, mostly to the god of, please don't die horribly. Suddenly, movement. Shadows skitter along the walls. Finn lifts his axe. It hums like a choir of angry bees. Then we see it, a mark. A burning sigil etched into the floor. Not just heat, power. It pulses.
That ain't natural. That's summoning work.
Think the demons left us a souvenir?
Then the sigil flares. Just a flicker, but enough to knock Elric off his feet and crack the wall behind us. We scramble back. I grab Elric. Finn swings his axe at Shadows, which I must say is not effective. And Mag spits at the runes like it's an old lover who owes her money. Back in daylight, we catch our breath. The mark is active. Something's still here. The Slayer may have stopped the attack, but whatever's in those crypts, it's just getting started. After that little crypt adventure, you'd think the smart thing would be to bar the chapel and run. Which, to be fair, was my first suggestion. But no, the council decided we needed a proper inspection. So who do they send? Me, Elric, Mags, Finn, and a new addition, Sister Alwyn. She's the priest's apprentice, about 20, too serious for her own good, and armed with more holy symbols than sense.
If we let infernal energy fester, it'll spread, like mildew, but with more screaming.
Right, mildew. But on fire?
We gear up again, this time with torches, charms, and Finn's flame axe, now humming slightly less, which somehow feels more ominous. We enter the crypt. Same heat, same pulsing red sigil, but something's changed. It's grown. Now there's a second mark, opposite the first, and between them, a shape. Floating, twishing, like a heart made of stone and ash, beating slow and angry.
That wasn't here before.
Course it wasn't. That's new hellcraft. That thing's feeding off the bones in the walls.
Sister Alwyn steps forward, muttering holy rites. Her voice steady but thin. The thing shudders. A hiss echoes, like the walls themselves disapprove.
By the grace of the seraphim.
Then it lashes out. A whip of red smoke snaps past her, shattering a torch. We all flinch. Elric yelps and ducks behind me. Typical.
Permission to axe the floating horror?
Granted.
Finn charges. The axe hums louder, glowing blue now. He swings, and the thing screeches, recoiling, but not dying, just mad. That's when I see it. In the flicker of flame and shadow, something else. A handprint on the wall, big, gauntleted, burned into the stone like a warning.
He's been here.
The Slayer. He must have sealed this once, maybe even fought whatever's inside. But now the seal's broken, and the thing is waking up. We back out fast. Even Sister Alwyn's looking pale. Outside, the village feels smaller, colder. The sky's still blue, but it's like it doesn't believe in itself anymore.
You can't just kill hell. It leaks, like a bad roof.
So what now? We light candles and pray?
We send word. If the Slayer left his mark here, maybe he'll come back.
I stare out toward the forest again, wondering if he's watching, wondering if whatever's in that crypt is waiting for him. Or for us. Either way, something's coming, and we'd best not be caught holding a broken torch and a flaming axe that sings lullabies. The next morning, half the village was arguing in the square. Not about the demonic sigil pulsing beneath our feet. Oh no. About whether it was safer to stay or flee to the capital.
We are strong, proud folk. We have pitchforks and courage.
You also cried when your donkey stepped in a puddle.
I can't lie, Jack had a point. Still, no one wanted to be the first to pack up and look like a coward. So we all stood there, awkward, pretending the sky wasn't slowly turning a weird shade of bruised purple. I decided to check on Elric, who'd holed up in the apothecary's cellar, surrounded by scrolls, bottles, and a frog named Cedric, who may or may not be cursed. Elric looked worse than usual, eyes bloodshot, fingers ink-stained.
I've been researching the sigil's pattern. It's old, pre-Crusade era, used in demonic contracts, bloodbound.
What kind of contract needs a floating murderer in the middle?
The kind that waits centuries to hatch.
He showed me a sketch. Spirals, claw marks, ancient glyphs, all leading toward a central image, a horned skull wreathed in flame. Above it, a name written in symbols that made my eyes itch.
Whatever's waking up down there, it wasn't just sealed. It was contained, bound, like a prisoner.
And now it's awake.
We jumped. She's like that, always appearing silently in doorways with divine timing. She glanced at the sketch, then nodded slowly.
This isn't just some loose demon. It's an arch-hellion, a general of the pit.
Well, that's just lovely. Shall we bake a cake or run screaming?
Alwyn didn't smile.
We prepare. We send out word. If the Slayer truly left his mark, he may return.
There's a way to draw him. Beacon magic. Dangerous but possible.
That's how I found myself later that evening, helping Elric paint glowing runes on the roof of the chapel while Jack held the ladder and muttered prayers to multiple gods, including at least one weather deity.
What if this summons something else? Like a goat with wings? Or worse, a talking goat?
I didn't have the heart to tell him I'd already seen a talking goat once. Didn't end well. As the last symbol glowed and the wind picked up, I felt it, that shift in the air, like the world was bracing itself. We lit the beacon. A column of golden fire shot skyward. Somewhere out there, maybe in the wilds, maybe in hell itself, the Slayer would see it. And if he didn't, well, we still had Finn's axe, which had just started humming again. The beacon burned through the night, tall, golden, loud as a banshee with stage fright. Every bird for miles probably packed up and moved. We sat in silence around the chapel, waiting. No Slayer, just wind, whispers, and the faint sound of Jack's stress-eating hardtack.
Maybe the Slayer's busy. Fighting demons? Taking a nap? Cleaning his whatever that armor is made of?
If he doesn't come soon, the sigils in the crypt could destabilize. It's already spreading. Look.
He pointed toward the village well. Faint red cracks had begun snaking out from the chapel, crawling like veins across stone and soil. Nothing dramatic yet, but it looked like the earth was starting to bruise.
The boundary between realms is thinning. If that heart ruptures...
She didn't finish the sentence. Didn't have to. Meanwhile, Finn was in his forge, modifying his axe again. Said he needed it to channel righteous fury. What he meant was, he added more spikes.
She hums in 2 keys now. That's innovation.
She also glows in the dark. Pretty sure that's not safe.
By midday, a storm rolled in. Black clouds swirling unnaturally low. Rain hissed when it hit the sigil veins. Then, thunder. Not natural thunder. This had rhythm, like footsteps. Big ones. Something's coming. I can feel it in my bad hip.
Can we maybe not be here when it arrives?
Then the bell tower shook. A tremor ran through the village, and we all turned. Down the main road, through the forest mist, came the sound of crushing branches, scattering birds, and chanting? No, not chanting. Growling. Out from the trees burst creatures. Hunched, twisted, not quite demons, not quite men. Half-armored, half-rotted, all rage. At least a dozen.
They're advanced scouts, heralds of the Arch-Hellion.
I grabbed a shovel. Don't judge me, it was sharp.
All right, time to protect the chickens again.
Sister Alwyn lit her staff. Finn charged like a lunatic, and I may have shouted something heroic. Or just screamed. It's a blur. We met them head on. It wasn't pretty. Shouting, fire, demon goo flying everywhere. But somehow, we held. Then, silence. The last creature crumpled. Rain fell harder. And that's when we heard it. Not thunder. Not footsteps. A roar from above. Mechanical, unholy, familiar. We looked up. The Slayer had arrived. On a dragon. Well, some kind of engine-dragon hybrid. Metal scales, fire snout, wings like razors. He leapt from its back, landing in the mud with a crunch. He didn't speak. So there he stood, mud-slicked, armor smoking, surrounded by villagers too stunned to breathe. The Slayer. Up close, he was taller than I remembered, broader too, like the forest forged him out of rage and iron. He looked at the smoldering chapel, the red veins crawling across the earth, and the sigil glow lighting up the clouds like fireflies with anger issues. Without a word, he walked past us.
He smells like blood and destiny.
That's a good cologne name.
Inside the chapel, the air had thickened. Sister Alwyn followed close behind him, murmuring rites. Elric clutched a scroll like it might deflect hellfire. Me? I stayed near the back. Not out of fear, just strategic common sense. The crypt door pulsed red, the sigils flared, the Slayer drew his weapon, some kind of rotating blade cannon hybrid. I don't know what it was called, but I wanted one for personal gardening.
The sigils, they're reacting to his presence. It's like they remember him.
And then the heart in the crypt screamed. Not like a person, more like the world crying out through broken teeth. A wave of heat burst up the stairwell, nearly knocking us back. The Slayer didn't flinch, he charged in. We followed, of course we did. Can't let one man save our entire village again without supervision. Down below, the heart had changed. It had grown limbs, a torso, a jaw. The arch-hellion had formed. Clawed arms, bone crown, a voice like rusted chains grinding through meat.
You again.
It remembered him. The Slayer lifted his cannon, cocked it once, and fired. The bolt hit the arch-hellion's shoulder, splattering molten ichor across the chamber. It shrieked, swung a claw the size of a wagon, and the fight began. Stone shattered, runes flared. Finn yelled something heroic before being flung into a barrel of communion wine. Sister Alwyn chanted faster. Elric activated a ward, and me, I jabbed my shovel into a demonic foot.
Not today, you charred sausage!
The Slayer leapt, blade spinning, cleaving through limb and sigil alike. The arch-hellion roared, trying to absorb energy from the crypt, but the beacon's light cut through, weakening it. The room burned brighter, louder, everything shaking, collapsing, and just when it seemed the beast would rise again, the Slayer drove his blade into its core. When the Slayer's blade hit the arch-hellion's core, it wasn't just metal meeting flesh. It was like time held its breath. The creature froze, its limbs locking mid-lunge, glowing veins crackling like lightning across bone and armor. Then came the sound. A scream, not from a throat, but from reality itself. The kind that makes your spine think about retiring early. The heart burst into black fire, flaring up the walls, racing across every sigil. The crypt shook. Loose stones dropped like hail. I ducked behind a broken altar and prayed to every god I could remember, including the one in charge of baked goods. The Slayer didn't move. He just pushed the blade deeper, one gauntleted hand gripping the hilt, the other pressing into the molten remains like he wanted the pain. The core's destabilizing! He's ripping the pact apart!
Hold your positions. The chamber will collapse.
Tell my goat I loved her!
The arch-hellion flailed, limbs flaring, voice gurgling with dying hate.
You are unbound.
But the Slayer didn't answer. He never does. Just gave one final push, and the core split with a sound like a thunderclap underwater. A pulse exploded outward, blinding, hot, alive. It threw me back into a pile of hymnals. Finn got flung across the crypt like a hay bale. Mags, God's bless her, somehow just crouched and rode it out with a pipe in her mouth. When I came to, the heart was gone. The sigils were scorched black. The Arch-Hellion's corpse lay crumpled, steam hissing from a cracked skull. No more glowing veins, no more pulsing walls, just silence, and the sound of rain returning to normal. The Slayer stood in the center, smoking, bleeding, still. He pulled his blade free, slung it over his shoulder, and walked toward the exit without a word.
It's over?
It should be. The pact's broken, the heart destroyed, the tethers severed.
Someone catch me. I think I landed on a sacred candle.
We stumbled out behind the Slayer, blinking in daylight. The village was there, still messy, still cracked, but alive. The sky had cleared. The red veins faded into dust. Villagers peeked out from windows, from cellars, from under overturned carts. They saw the Slayer, saw us.
We are saved again.
He dented my fence again.
The Slayer paused at the edge of town, looked back, just once, and then he was gone, into the forest. No speech, no farewell. Just the crunch of boots and the faint, rising hum of that metal dragon waiting somewhere above.
Next time he visits, maybe we bake him a pie.
The days that followed were quiet. Almost too quiet, if I'm honest. Like the world was trying real hard to pretend it hadn't just been on fire. The sigils faded completely. The chapel stood, cracked but intact. The crypt was resealed, this time with runes, prayers, and a generous layer of reinforced stone. Elric insisted we store a blessed chicken at the entrance just in case. Demonic energy fears poultry, it's a theory. The villagers got to work, patching fences, repairing roofs, singing songs again, though slightly more nervously than before. Jack started a new business selling hell-proof turnips. I didn't ask. Finn reworked his forge into something more reasonable, though his axe now hangs above his mantle, humming softly like a sleeping cat with bad intentions. As for me, I started writing things down. I figured if someone ever asked what happened in Stonehaven, they should hear it from someone who smelled the demons, fought with a shovel, and survived. But even as we healed, something lingered. A feeling. Like the forest hadn't fully exhaled. Like the soil still remembered burning. Sister Alwyn stayed near the chapel, meditating, praying, watching the sky.
The Slayer ended the pact, but some wounds don't close. They fester.
She wasn't wrong. Last night, Elric's frog, Cedric, glowed red for 3 seconds and croaked in ancient Sumerian. He's fine now, I think. Still, I find myself looking toward the trees more often, listening. Not for monsters, but for him. I never did thank the Slayer. Don't know if he'd have let me, but I think he knows. Maybe that's enough. This morning, I found something strange. A symbol burned into the tree behind my barn. Small, faint, but unmistakable. A mark. Not a demonic one. A warning. Or maybe an invitation. So, I've started keeping my shovel near the door, just in case. Because if what we faced was only one echo of hell, Then somewhere, just beyond the edge of the woods, the next book might be about to open. And that's the tale of how Stonehaven almost became a barbecue pit for demons. If you survived, enjoyed the carnage, or just like hearing Jack scream like a choir boy, hit that like button, drop a comment down below, and tell us how you'd fight an Archhellion with a shovel. More tales might be coming, and next time, we might need you on the front lines. Stay sharp, and keep watching the trees.